This video is going to be about the Learning Target 6 similarity ratios. And I'm not going to do all the problems, but I'll do the following. And I will try to do this in one video. If it takes two, then this video will continue on a second part. So we're going to begin with problem number 5. And in problem 5, you see on your paper, mine might not be zoomed in enough for you to see it, but I'm assuming you're looking at your paper, and you see that we have all 4 sides on the top quadrilateral, but only one side of the bottom quadrilateral. So we're going to use that 15 to 40 scale factor to figure out all of the rest. So I'm going to set it up using scale factor, and that is 15 over 40, second over first, equals, and then I can really pick any of these other ones to go with next. I think I'm going to pick the 30 and GD to do next. So GD is our unknown, and that's on the second figure. So I'm going to put an X on top there. And in the first figure, we have a 30. And before I try to do this, I'm going to simplify. 15 over 40, you can divide top and bottom by 5. And that ratio, instead of 15 to 40, becomes 3 over 8, which is much easier to deal with. In fact, that means that we now know the scale factor from the blue to the yellow is a scale factor of 3 over 8, which should make the rest of our problem work very swiftly. So here I can do 8 times x and get 8x. And 3 times 30 is 90. And then I divide both sides by 8. And you were allowed to use a calculator in this. And you were supposed to round, I believe, to the nearest tenth. So when I divide 90 divided by 8, I get 11.25, which rounds to 11.3. So GD equals 11.3. But it said find all 3 missing sides. So let's find GO next. Now I already still have this 40 over 15, or 15 over 40 as a scale factor, and if you recall, I already simplified it. So I already know that my scale factor is actually 3 over 8. So let's use that again. Scale factor is 3 over 8. Now, if I wanted, I could just take RU and multiply it by 3 over 8. That would be one way of getting my answer. I'm going to go ahead and solve it as a proportion. So 3 over 8, and I'm looking for GO, so that'll be GO over 50. And I'm going to use an X to represent my GO. So I get 8X equals 150. Divide both sides by 8, right? 3 times 50 is 150. And 150 divided by 8 is 18.75, and that simplifies to 8, or rounds to 18.8. So I should write on my paper that GO equals 18.8. So I still need to find OL. So to find OL, I'll use the fact that I already know US. Now I could, since I know the scale factor is 3 over 8, I could multiply US, which is 25, by 3 over 8, and that would get me the answer. Or I could set it up as a proportion, like I've done on the other ones, and I think that's what I'll do again. I already know that if I use DL and HS, that's 15 to 40, and I already know that that simplifies to a scale factor of 3 over 8. I'm looking for OL, and that corresponds to US, so that's X over 25, and I cross multiply. And I get 8X equals 75. Divide both sides by 8. I said you could use a calculator. That gets me 9.375. And 9.375, if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, gets me 9.4. On your answer paper, you should put OL equals 9.4. And I should be able to see this work on your paper too. Okay, let's do number 7. If you look at number 7, there's an X involved. And I'm sorry, this X in the corner gets a little confusing. And I apologize for having 2 X's there. But I believe they wanted us to find the X as in X plus 8. So if we look at this, if we want to stick with our second over first, I'm going to set up X plus 8 over 15. Equals, and then 24 is on the second, over 18. So I did X plus 8 over 15 equals 24 over 18. There are different ways you could possibly set that up. One of the reasons I set it up that way is it is kind of using our scale factor, second over first. So I like using that way. The other thing is I noticed that 24 and 18 have a common factor, so I'm going to be able to simplify that. So 24 and 18, I can divide top and bottom by 6. And I get X plus 8 over 15, because that stays the same. And that's going to be 4 over 3. That's a much easier fraction to work with. And by the way, that is the scale factor. Second over first, 24 over 18, is also the same number as 4 over 3. So now I cross multiply. 15 times 4 is 60. And over here, I indicate 3 parentheses X plus 8. Now I'm going to distribute. I'm going to get 60 equals 3x plus 24 by distributing. I'll move up here, and I have 60 equals 3x plus 24. I'm trying to isolate x, so I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. Gets you 3x. You can do your borrow and carry here. 10 minus 4 is 6, 5 minus 2 is 3. 36 equals 3x. This is 3 times x. I just want 1x, so I divide both sides by 3. X equals 12. Let's move on now to number 11. Number 11 also said no calculator. And again, it said find x. And we have an x right here. So I'm going to look at these other ratios and see which one looks like it would be the easiest to use. I'll have 2 over 3 right here. That's already simplified. You know what that also means? All the other ones are going to simplify to be 2 over 3, right? If I use 4 over 6, that would simplify to be 2 over 3. If I use 4 over 6, that would also simplify to be 2 over 3. So I'm going to say 2 over 3 equals 6 over x minus 11. Again, there are several ways to do this. I'm sticking with the second over first idea so that it's kind of the same each time for you. 6 times 3 gets me 18. 2 times this denominator, x minus 11, means I have to use parentheses because I want 2 times the entire denominator. And I'm going to have to distribute that 2 so it multiplies by both elements. So that means 18 equals 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times negative 11, negative 22. I want the x alone, and I don't want any regular numbers over here. So I don't want the negative 22. So I'm going to use an additive inverse. Because it's 2x minus 22, if I add 22, I get 0. That's what I want. So that's gone. And I get 2x, 0, carry your 1 is 40. 2x equals 40. divide both sides by 2, and I get x equals 20. Let's do number 12, because I believe number 12 tricked several people. And part of it was because a lot of people didn't recognize that this rectangle is turned sideways. So if you look at the small rectangle, the base would be 1.5 if you turned it, and the side would be 6. And if you look over here, the bigger rectangle, x minus 2 is the base, and 3x is the side. So we have to make sure that we're using the corresponding sides. Again, there are many ways to set this up. I'm going to use the scale factor idea and do second over first. And so I would get 3x over 6, using this 3x and this 6, equals x minus 2 over 1.5. I notice that 3x and 6 can simplify. I could divide top and bottom by 3. I like to do that before I start. That works out really well because 3x divided by 3 is just plain old x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I have x minus 2 and 1.5. Cross multiply. X times 1.5 is simply 1.5x. Don't let the decimal scare you. And then I have 2 parentheses x minus 2. I need to distribute this. So that's 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Equals 1.5x. Let's get all the x's on one side. That means I'm going to need to subtract 2x. Right, because I just want numbers over here and x's over here. So that leaves me a negative 4 on the left, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do 1.5 minus 2x, 1.5x minus 2x. So I'm going to erase here. So I know the left side of my equation will end up being negative 4. And then 1.5x and negative 2x. 1.5 minus 2. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting positive and negative numbers, you do the big number minus the small number. So 2 minus 1.5. And I kind of hope that you know that's 1.5. I mean that the answer is 0.5. But let's see. Let's go ahead and put this here. And then we borrow and carry. 10 minus 5 is 5. And in adding and subtracting, you just bring down your decimals. 1 minus 1 is 0. I have to check my signs, though. It was positive 1.5 and negative 2. So the negative 2 wins. So I'm going to have a negative 0.5 here. So negative 0.5x equals 4. Divide both sides by negative 0.5. Because remember, I want 1x. So that means I have to divide negative 0.5 divided by negative 0.5 because that is 1. So I get x. Uh-oh, how do I do negative 4 divided by negative 0.5? Well, first of all, I know that the answer is going to be positive because it's a negative divided by a negative. The top number goes inside the division house, if you will. And the bottom number is the divisor. And way back a long time ago, you learned that we're really not supposed to divide by a decimal. So we're going to move this decimal over one place. What that really means is I multiplied by 10. So I'm going to multiply this by 10. I'm going to move this decimal over one place. 5 goes into 40 8 times. So x equals 8. There you have it. Next one on the list is number 13. And I think I'm going to pause the video here and I'll start on the next video.